252.
Hey, welcome to another episode of 252. Frank G here, along with
Simply Angela.
Johnny Blaze.
Cool Water Kurt.
Ralphie D.
Well, the first question, what is Robotech? JB?
Well, it's an anime series that was created in 1985. 3 totally unrelated shows. Did not know that till today. That were strung together by Harmony Gold. A man named Carl Messick was able to combine it into one series and one universe.
Yeah, I believe it was when they wanted to air on American TV, I think they had the Macross saga, which was the first part of the show.
That's the one.
But it was only Macross was only 30 episodes or something like that. And for on a kid's show run, you needed damn near 100 episodes because it's a daily, they were 5 days a week. So you needed a lot more than one. So he had to kind of scramble around and get kind of similar shows to put together.
Right.
He smashed the 3 in and ultimately came up with 85 total episodes.
Now, I know you say it's a children's show, and of course it was.
Yeah.
But it seemed like they had some really kind of adult themes on that show.
It really was. And actually, this is what Frank and I had talked about before, because I said one of the reasons why I loved it, and he said one of the reasons why he hated it, was because there was a lot of adult drama in a lot of those early episodes. I mean, they dealt with.
I didn't hate
Macross
it.
was.
I just didn't get
Yeah,
it.
because we were kids.
At the age of 10.
Macross was half action show, half soap opera.
Yeah.
And I think everybody universally hated Min-May. I don't know why.
Because
she was always in trouble.
Let me tell you something about Min-May. She was the object of Rick Hunter's desire, but she was such a spoiled brat that people were like, "Man, this guy is doing everything, he's saving your life time and time again," and you're like, "Oh, Rick," and joking around. But then ultimately, because it was like a soap opera. Then it kind of changes where Lynn Min-May actually has stronger feelings for Rick Hunter now that they're getting older. And then she's realized she started out, she was a little girl and she was just kind of spoiled and stuff. And then she wants to get rid of her career and everything to be with Rick. But now Rick is moving on,
That's right.
And then she's over at his house doing his dishes and stuff. And he's on a date with another woman. I was 10 and I was like, what is going on?
Is this how life works?
That's how you can do it?
This is my question.
Go ahead.
Were these people white?
Well, no, they were Asian.
They were
white,
Asian.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They look very white.
I know. I'm saying.
But if you look at all the anime,
Yeah.
all the Asian, they look like that. That's what they do.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
They're not going to yellow themselves up. That's just strictly Americanization.
I know,
You know what I mean?
Well, the thing about and things like Robotech, because the Macross city, or it was an island, I can't remember if it was an island or a city, but when it merged with the SDF-1, it was all inside. And sometimes when they would show Macross inside the SDF-1, all the billboards and everything were written in
Japanese.
Yeah.
And how many times did Rick save Min-May because she was caught outside SDF-1 when it was transformed? How many times? I was not a big fan of the show because I didn't like the soap opera aspect of it, but I love the SDF-1.
The robots were dope.
So let's go with the obvious part, which really appealed to all of us, was watching those robots transform.
Yes.
The first one that they had was the Veritech Fighters.
Yeah.
I believe they were called Valkyries.
The Valkyries, right.
Now, there was also, behind the scenes, there was also, another company that had the rights to that design. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't call it one thing or the other because it was if I'm not mistaken, I think it actually started out as a model kit company or something.
They made slews of models. They did make toys, but I knew almost no one who had actual Robotech toys. They had the Zentradi were about the A-big and blue. Then you had the little guys, and you had the Macross fighters.
I knew
all of my Robotech toys were flea market bootlegs, all of them. It was so easy to get there at the time.
I knew one person.
Pup had the SDS.
I knew 2 people.
Pup had the actual die-cast metal SDF-1. It was this big. It was a huge toy. But it's funny because the SDF-1 was this, but the Veritech Fighter was also this big.
Yeah, wait, it's supposed to fit in this.
It's supposed to fit in this.
It was one of my favorite possessions was an SDF-1 knockoff about yay tall.
Yeah, it was already stiff.
Yeah, he would transform.
And what was cool though is
Oh,
that
it was just the legs would go down and the arms would go up.
Yeah.
you could what I really did love and what the Robotech robots had over Transformers was you could do that mid transform. They could either be a robot, a plane, or that half robot.
I believe it was called
Guardian.
Yeah,
Was the half plane, half robot. And
Which one turned into to Jetfire / Skyfire of the Transformers? One of the Robotech things. Was that one?
Yes.
All right, because you could do that with that was the only Transformer you could do. You could leave Jetfire
Right.
in halfway mode.
Yeah, because Jetfighter was the Veritech. It was
Right.
it was that
They
whole.
didn't have
That's
to
what I'm
knock
saying.
them off.
They had that whole like I
That
can't remember the
rivalry.
company. I know Revell was one. I think Mattel maybe was the
Bell
other.
was the
model
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 maker.
Yeah,
company.
but then there was the
Was it part of the Gundam thing?
ooh,
Gundam models because they're all very similar.
They're all
too.
very
They might have all been tied
Well,
in.
you know what? I think another thing they had over the Transformers is when they transformed, they looked like they did in the show. Whereas the Transformers, you get Megatron and it looked like a mutant gun. It looked
Right.
nothing, didn't even
Yeah.
resemble
Yeah.
Megatron on
He
the
looked
show.
like an old West gunfighter with the huge gap-like legs. It was, Megatron was weird looking.
Definitely.
It looked like he'd been melted as a Terminator 2 kind of thing. Not good.
So-
now they make cartoon accurate Megatron and Optimus Prime, but they're like $250 a piece.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what always bumped me switching to Transformers real quick was Megatron transforming into a small gun that someone could use.
Starscream would shoot him.
well, and you know what? But then again, Soundwave
Come on.
could when he turned into a boombox, it was for a human, and a human could pick him up and
Yeah.
put it on his shoulder.
All that
or
mass
whatever.
is gone.
All that mass is gone. But that's what we love the most about it.
That was Transformer magic.
Yeah, and I want to say that's why I'm almost kind of sort of looking forward to Bumblebee
Yes.
because I'm looking at they're the Transformers that I remembered,
Right.
and that's almost how they're going to get me. They like that they like to poke us with that nostalgia stick, and they're like, "Hey, remember this is what it looked like on the cartoon." And I saw it, and I got really excited when he went like this, and it opened up, and all the tapes came out, and I was like, "It's
They're
ravage!
doing it.
It's
They're doing it.
Now, hopefully, that rest of the movie will be like that, and it's not just this is the scene we put in here to make sure you came and buy buy tickets.
yeah, got me
And
again."
the rest is up to John Cena.
Exactly.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was going for Bumblebee himself, not for.
And then what's her Haley Stansfield? Is that her name?
I don't know, but if
I
we don't
don't
get
know.
to see John Cena's ass in this movie, I'm gonna feel gypped. He shows his ass and everything.
Really well.
Going back to Robotech,
Yes.
I as watching it because I really enjoyed it. Now with them, I guess as a kid, I can tell that there was a difference going on, and I'm going really on my memory here because I really loved the Macross saga.
Right.
And then when it goes from Macross to Southern Cross, there's like a 15-year jump, and then
Yeah, into the
and then
future,
it's Max and I think her name was Muriel. She was a Zentradi that got miniaturized, and then
Oh,
Max
that's
got
right,
with
yeah.
her, and they had a love affair, got married, had a baby, and then
And they just
that
have,
kid,
yeah.
the
have-
kid, it's a girl, it was a Dana Sterling. She ends up being on the Southern Cross, and there was like the tanks and stuff like that. They were more militarized.
Those
They were-
things always look like Klingons to me.
Yeah, it was weird. They had the whole thing, and the show really changed. And I remember as a kid looking at it, I was like, "Hey, this is
How does this match up?
Yeah, this doesn't like. It's still like I'm like, where's Rick Hunter? Where's this? All my characters that I like." And I remember not liking Southern Cross, but then when they did it again, and they went to New Generation,
Uh-huh.
I really liked that because we were
The
talking about the Cyclones because they were on motorcycles.
Right.
That changed into man, you got a motorcycle,
Yes.
and then it changes, and now it's like now you're in the suit,
Yes.
and it had the tires on the top. That
Yeah, now
Cool.
that would
That was
nice.
great, but the thing about New Generation, they were always on the run.
Always.
They never won a single battle.
Nah.
They were overpowered every second
and
of the
it
show.
make, but when you think about it, it makes sense. They were going up against these. They had no resources like the other two shows.
Yeah.
You know, the other two shows had resources. They had new recruits coming in, training them. They had the military. These were like 5 people on the run, and one of them, Yellow Dancer, was weird.
Oh, that's right. No, it was like a little fey.
I think
Was he part of the Southern Cross or the other one?
no, that was just New Generation.
Okay.
And New Generation, they actually say that because I want to say like for a while there, Cartoon Network had picked up Robotech,
Okay.
and they were playing Macross and they played Southern Cross, but they would not play New Generation.
Oh.
And some people say it was because of Lancer character, because Lancer was a guy, and he's a real tough guy, but he would put on a dress and makeup and lipstick and go sing songs and act as a performer.
As you do.
And I think there was a weird point in time where they were like, I don't know if we want the kids looking at that. And
Now they don't mind.
now it's gone.
Pokemon has James in a dress and a wig all the time. So.
Well, I mean, no, they
And
had
Bugs
Bugs
Bunny
Bunny in
too,
them, but Yellow Dancer was really effeminate and a woman, and it was like, now this is no longer a male character, now it's a woman character, and then he'd take his dress off and be like, yeah, I'm ready to fight, and it's like, it's just confusing. They thought they were trying to, it's like, hey, you can still be macho and gay, So I think that's what
They could have been
the
a-
networks were.
I look at half the WWF in the 80s.
What was the one guy's name?
No,
That was no, not Val Venus. This is like back in the day. I want to say his name was Adonis. He always wore like a motorcycle.
Adrian Adonis?
Adrian
Yeah.
Adonis. Remember, because he always had the leather and the motorcycle cap, and then when he turned effeminate, he did a weird
adorable
turn.
Adrian Adonis.
The adorable Adrian
Why
Adonis.
do I remember that?
Also, I think Goldust did a feminine turn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So hey, are they still playing Robotech on TV and cable?
No, like I said, Cartoon Network. They were running it for a little bit, but now I don't think you can find.
No,
not just on Netflix, you can find it, and Amazon Prime. Because I had to do some research to like look at it again. Like, let me see if I can remember some of this stuff. And like scrolling through. I mean, a lot of those episodes. As soon as I saw a couple of things, it made me remember. But yeah, it's like Amazon Prime or Netflix. You can't watch it on any of the other. I think it's all gone.
Oh man. Now, I know that there was a lot of violence in the show. Didn't they have to edit out a lot of violence?
Oh, that show was so
Yeah,
heavily edited when it came over here.
Yeah.
And then also, we show commercials 3 times. We have 3 breaks.
Yeah.
In Japan, they only have 2. So they're editing out material just to fit the commercials in.
Yeah.
And if they have a public service message, that's usually created on our end because they don't do that in Japan either.
And going back to what you were saying, like especially like when I was like running like NBC Productions or something like that, they're not going to show all the blood and the gore, and because what they would do is like, you remember when the Zentradi would come in and they'd be fighting, they would have the scene where they would blow up a place, and then you would see the little animated character just go. They would have they're blowing people up, and as a kid you're looking at it, you're like, oh wow, that whole person just, and it'd be a group of people, and they'd be, because it wasn't just the visual of them getting blown up, it's all the voices screaming, ah! And it's like, oh shit. Then you knew
It's real. Real
like,
drama.
this is something, and they had to, with the bullets and the body count, because I remember one episode in particular, it was the death of Rick Hunter's, I think it was his brother. It was Roy Fokker. I mean, they had different last names, but I think they were like half brothers or something like
We
that.
don't know anything about that.
And there was a scene where Roy Fokker, he used to be in control, like he was the squad leader.
Right.
He got into a skirmish, and then he was like, "Oh, everything's okay." And they were like, "Oh man, your fighters all shot up." And he was like, "Yeah, we're good." And, got lucky. And he was dating the black girl on the show, and then they were
Race relations.
Yeah, and they were having a relationship, and he was sitting in her apartment on the couch. And apparently, one of the bullets got through his Veritech fighter and hit him and nicked something, and he bled to death on her couch.
Oh,
So she's like making dinner for them. She's like, "Roy, how you doing, Roy?" And he just was sitting there, just slumped over, and he died. And then, again, you're a kid and you're watching this, and you're like, and it's like, what just happened? And it's like, did they just kill off one of the main characters?
You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah,
In G.I. Joe, when they blow up the plane, they all drop on parachutes.
yeah,
exactly. But on Sesame Street, Mr. Hooper died, and Big Bird had to explain that to us.
Yeah.
That was a sad day.
I don't know if it was groundbreaking in Japan, but it was here, was the quality of the animation. I mean, even shows that came from Japan couldn't touch the quality, like Battle of the Planets. I used to watch Shogun Warriors.
Definitely.
Nowhere
Transor
near.
Z.
I think going with that, I remember as a kid, the one thing about the animation I loved the most was when they were having the battle scenes, the way when they would shoot the missiles and the missiles would go all over the place, and then they would, they would have to be doing the dogfights and they're going like this. The missiles are following them, and I remember being kind of mesmerized by it, by looking at it.
And then the explosions wouldn't all happen at the same time.
It was they would shoot up one of the battle cruisers, and it would do the pop marks with the mini explosions before the huge explosion that happened. It was just that attention to detail, and for me, Robotech was my first foray into anything close to anime.
Well, going back to animation, one of my favorite parts of Robotech was in the intro when the Veritech fighter shows a close-up of the back and the engines kick on.
Oh, yeah.
You see the two fists because it's not transformed. They go like this when the engines shoot. I thought that was just a little detail that I thought was so very cool. You can't, even today's standards, that would be a great show for animation-wise.
And for me, another thing about the cartoon, when you talk about the opening sequences, that reminded me that music that they had, that it was that inspirational.
I don't remember the song.
It was not a song. It's just an instrumental.
It was like a battle hymn.
It's like a battle hymn, and it's like dun 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 dun, dun, and it's just not Superman. I'm sorry, I started doing Superman, but
that is the most inspirational.
But it does have that, it has that the Rocky, gonna fly now. That you feel good.
Strong now.
Yeah, and they use it not only because they would also use it in the show. They had definite music that for different battle scenes, different drama scenes.
Correct.
They had a relationship when you're talking to one, and of course, they had the actual song because Lin Min-mei was a singer, and she had two hits that they played because
non-stop
saying two songs because the Zentradi, because a lot of the Zentradi would come
to the show.
They would defect because they didn't have music, and they didn't have art, and they didn't have love.
But they had protoplasm.
They did. That's how they were able to reproduce.
Populate. Well, in closing, this is what I want to say. What was Rick Hunter's other girlfriend's name?
Wow.
I can remember, it's only Min-mei and Lisa Hayes.
There you go.
Well, and
the
Lisa,
love triangle.
The love triangle, because I remember and I'll just say this in closing, I remember the episode where Rick had Min-mei, of course, that was his girl, that was it, that he loved more than she loved him. But when they got captured by the Zentradi, they wanted to, they didn't know what the Zentradi didn't know what kissing was or anything like that. They didn't know anything about love.
Right.
So they wanted to see
They wanted to see some
They wanted to
porn.
see it. Yeah. And so Rick and Lisa start kissing, and it starts out with the first, and it's funny because it's animated. It starts out, well, look, this is how you do it. And then they do the music, the doom, 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 and then they really get into it. And then the Zentradi are like, what are they doing?
Protoplasm boner.
And they couldn't understand it. And from that point, from that kiss, that's when Lisa started having feelings for Rick.
Yeah, the side chick became the main chick.
And then over the course of the show, then the side chick becomes the main chick, and the main chick goes to the side.
Not protoplasm, protoculture.
Oh,
Protoculture boner!
Protoculture. You said proto. Oh, that was the Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah.
Oh, ectoplasm.
Yeah, ectoplasm.
Yeah, protoplasm is a real thing that we have in our bodies.
Oh, yeah.
The cells divide or some shit. I don't know. I graduated from public high school.
But protoculture.
I know words. Right. I don't know what they
That's
mean.
what they were looking for. They all were looking for protoculture throughout the whole show. That's what it was, and that was their life essence. Some technical elements, and apparently Earth had a huge depository of it.
I got a huge depository of it in my face.
You got to turn them on the Energon cube and see Zentradi versus the Transformers.
Yeah, because the Zentradi were big. They were like 20 feet tall.
That's right. Yeah, that was
They were
always
huge.
huge to me.
Yeah.
And
Never
the
saw one
defectors
naked,
had to
though.
shrink themselves.
Yeah, they had to shrink down so they could. First they would shrink down so they can infiltrate.
Yeah.
But then they all started defecting because they liked Lin May's music and they actually liked the way it's like these guys are having fun.
Yeah. And they have sex. We got to get in on that.
There was a cartoon where they were having mad sex. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, hey, I always thought, and this in closing, the jet fighter. Remember when it would have the cockpit of the jet kind of between the legs of the fighter? I always thought that was the robot penis.
That's how you would end this. Robot penis.
Robot penis.
Well, okay.
I will say in
Fitting
closing,
tribute.
Frank, you got anything going out?
Not
Robot
after
penis.
We're good there.
Angela, do you have anything going out?
No, I'm good.
JB?
I'd like to send a shout out to my man AM, Comics Most Wanted. Like him, subscribe, follow him.
That robot penis needs a robot fluffer.
252.
Odds on it. Pull yourself together.